All right, we're recording. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us once again. So my assistant is down helping my mom today. My place is still clean, but the energy doesn't feel like as good as it normally does because my assistant didn't come in today. So I'm actually outside, so you guys can see the beautiful background. And because I live on the beach, there might be some noise or whatever from time to time, but we'll see. But we'll be going until 2 o'clock today. Today's really an exciting topic because we get to talk about my love with money. And but before we go into that, let's have a little brief meditation and prayer, and then we'll go into the material. So centering yourself and being in the breath allows us to be present. And when we are present, we are open and available to insight. This is why we meditate. Meditation, in essence, is focusing on the breath, because when we focus on the breath, we are present. There's no thoughts about yesterday or thoughts about tomorrow. There is only the now. This is the secret in being psychic. Because all we have to do is focus on the breath and be fully present. And then we can be a channel from spirit. And so, dear Mother, Father, God, blessing each and every individual that is with us live today, as well as each and every individual that will be hearing these words on YouTube, knowing for all of them that right where they are, God and Goddess is. Knowing for all of them that in the simple breath, in the simple prayer, that each of our lives can expand to something radically different than what it is today. All we have to do is to want it. And so knowing for each and every individual that will hear these words, that they are open and available to more good, more insight, more love, more prosperity, more everything. Because this is our divine birthright as being the beautiful expression of who Spirit is. And so I'm grateful to know, as I visualize this planet and I'm wrapping my arms around it, to know that we are evolving, that there will be a new day to where we realize that we are our brother and sister's keeper, that we are all one, and there will be a day in consciousness, knowing that it is already done in the mind of God, that we recognize this and realize this, that no one wins unless everyone wins. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen.
All right, so we're still in the theme of Beth, Beth being building the house, as well as the theme of the first step of ritual, the first step being setting the environment. And we began this theme of Beth with talking about divine order. That is everything that we control, that we put in divine order. And then in our last transmission, we talked about the 7 pillars of the body temple, of sleep and water and food and exercise, sunlight, proper posture, and proper breathing. And today, we move into one of my greatest loves, which is money. And money and power. And the reason why we include this with Beth is, as we talked about in our last time together, that my spirit guides are formulating a step-by-step process for anyone that wants to say yes to living a spiritual life. And our intention is to give you what works. Spirituality is such a huge topic. We can talk about reincarnation. We can talk about multidimensional fields of reality. We can talk about so many different aspects. But in truth, studying reincarnation, past lives, multidimensional realities, all these type of things, and everything else, it doesn't help your life besides just having a greater expansion of what spirituality is. We want to only give you food on your plate that will help your life. That if you take action on it, you will definitely see transformation. And so that is our premise. That is the foundation of this work. Because we believe that no matter what you follow or what your belief system is, if it's not supporting you in you reaching your fullest potential of who you are as God or goddess, then it is our opinion to release it. And so we give you this as a program that does work, as a program that will transform your life, and so that you can exemplify the power of who God and Goddess is as your life. Because in our opinion, that's what matters. That is truly living a spiritual life. So we bring in now the subject of money and power. For truly in this time and space, money is power. When we're working with the law, and what we call the law is what other people would call manifestation and terms like that. The law being that setting your vibrational accord in a certain way towards what you want, if you do it properly, the law will give it to you. So we have two aspects of a spiritual life. We have love and we have law. We will only be focusing on the law to help you create what you want and for you to live a fully realized life, because that's how we're going to heal the world. So when it comes to the law, money in this time and space is a tool of the law. And so in such, money is power. And so while we are in this time of being in Beth and building our home and setting our environment, we must understand that having money and having a proper relationship with money is making your home powerful. And so this is why we now talk about money. The first creation of paper money was formulated in China in 7 AD. This was created so that people that were traveling didn't have to bring all of their gold and silver and all of this type of thing, because those that had a lot of it, that became cumbersome. Later on, we had the Knights Templars, who through the war would become the first banks.
Huh.
Linda, can you please silence everyone? The Knights Templars became the first banks. And what would happen is, as people were traveling, they would stop at these certain spaces where the Knights Templar were, and they would hand over their gold or their silver, and the Knights Templar would give them a paper that was encoded. And so they could then go to the next, travel to the next Knights Templar station, hand them over this paper, and the Knights Templar were the only ones that could read it. And knowing that it came from the Knights Templar because of certain codes and all these type of things, would then give them their gold and their silver. The Knights Templar did not create these codes. These codes have been in existence through many mystery schools, through many underground esoteric teachings. It exists now even in the mystery school of Masonry, as well as other mystery schools. But this idea of having paper money, which the first paper money was created in the US in 1861. The idea of having paper money, and originally paper money was supposed to be based off of gold, but then 1973, Richard Nixon, that ceased to happen. And now we have a lot of inflation, but that's a different talk that I could go on about that for the next 3 hours. But in essence, the point in sharing this history, this brief history, is to help you understand that paper money is actually a beautiful thing. Because what it is, and what I call money, is financial energy. What it is, and it's a glorious creation in the sense that I can do some work for someone, and instead of some type of barter system, which was in place before paper money, they can actually give me a representation of my work in financial money, in financial energy, which we call money, paper money. And then I can now use that financial energy to go purchase anything that I want from someone else. This is an evolution of the root chakra, of the law, of our human evolution. This helps things. This makes things quicker. And now we are on the premise of our new evolution of money, which will be digital currency. And that will be, there's over 150 countries and provinces currently today experimenting with digital currency. This will be a reality for all of us very soon. And this will be another evolution of money. We had silver and gold, then we had paper money, now digital currency. Actually, the history of money goes even beyond that, but again, just, brief history here. And that digital currency is important for the evolution again of our species, because we are in a digital age. So as our ages change, so does what we call money and how money exists. But in whatever creation state that this financial energy is in, now today, fiat currency, tomorrow, it'll be digital currency, not literally tomorrow, but it's coming. It is, in this time and space, power. And so if we were to call ourselves spiritual, we cannot ignore this power. And when I talk about the Knights Templar, and now as I talk about the creation of money in 1861 in the US, it's to understand that money was actually created by great metaphysicians. If you call yourself spiritual, these metaphysicians are a part of your spiritual lineage. Money is not evil. Money was not created by evil or people that have consciousness of so-called evil. Money was actually created by great spiritual beings, great spiritual masters. All you have to do is look at the dollar bill and look at the pyramid, look at the all-seeing eye. Those are not Christian symbols at all. Those are ancient symbols that our spiritual lineage is actually grounded on. And later we may actually go into depth about those symbols. The other aspect of fiat currency in the US, where it says, "In God we trust." The founding fathers of our country were not Christians. They were Masons and Deitists. And because they were Masons and Deitists, by definition, from the current Christian and Catholic Church teachings, they cannot be followers of the church. Now, They may have believed in the teachings of Jesus Christ. They may have believed in the Torah and all these type of things. But by definition of the current teachings of the church, they were not Christians or Catholics. Why? Because they were Masons and Deitists. Deitists are worshipers of nature. Masons, to be a Mason, it does not matter. They do not care what religion you follow, what belief system you follow, as long as you believe in one God. And when you become a Mason, you swear, you take an oath, and you swear upon 7 different books, if I remember correctly. Might have been 5. And those books represent the major religions of the world. I'm not sharing anything that people don't already know. These things have been written time and time again by Masons that have broken their vows. So this information is out there. But for me to swear on other religions, that would then, by current Christian or Catholic standards, make me not one. So when it says in God we trust, the God that actually our founding fathers believed in was the God that those of us that call ourselves spiritual believe in essence, that there is one living force and that we are all one and a part of it. And so, if you're a free thinker, then I'm sure at some point when you saw a dollar bill, you said, what are these symbols about? These don't look like Christian symbols. If you're not a free thinker, then you probably never noticed it or just bypassed it and said, oh, well, this country is founded on Christianity. No, not even close. This country was founded on the antithesis of what Christianity is. Our founding fathers were great astrologers. They believed in numerology. They believed in tarot. They believed in all the Hermetic sciences. And that is not what Christians believe in today. God bless the Christians. We love them. They're great. I know so many beautiful, beautiful Christians. They do so many great works in this world. I would not be who I am today without a few Christian football coaches in my life. But here we talk about truth, and this is truth. So anyway, moving on, because I could talk another hour about all of those things. But the whole point in expressing this is to heal our spiritual community's relationship with money, because our spiritual community takes on these very, very ignorant concepts that says money is the root of all evil. It's not. Money is a tool. It was created by metaphysicians to be a tool of our will, to be a tool of our want. It is not it's not money's fault that money is, yes, definitely used for quote unquote evil. I don't believe in evil, but quote unquote ignorance, quote unquote, the power being in the few instead of the many, which is an imbalance of our nature. But that's not money's fault. That's us. That's us in terms of where we are as a human consciousness. That has nothing to do with money. Money is a tool, and it can be used for quote unquote good or quote unquote bad. And it is our choice. Money represents our consciousness because it is the tool of humanity for our power. And so if we don't like what money is doing, we must look at our human collective consciousness. But us as a spiritual community, we will never have power as a whole until we accept money as a part of our birthright and a part of our spiritual lineage. And so there must be immense healing here, because the teachings of spirituality today is that, with first and foremost, it's about oneness, that we are all one. And second, it's about that we have the ability of what I call magic, MAJIK, to create anything that we want. So we are evolving in our spiritual community from the old paradigm of not having anything material because we only live on God. We are evolving from that because we are to exemplify what God and the power of God and Goddess. And the power of God and Goddess is not being poor, is not saying, oh, I only want God and forget all this materialism. No, we are to have it all, because we can have anything that we want. And that is what the current so-called manifestation teachings have been about. Unfortunately, they are taught wrong, so not many people can experience that. But that is the evolution of our human species in terms of our relationship with our Creator and the understanding of who we truly are as the Creator. But this can't happen until we eliminate the false beliefs of money. Because if you hold in consciousness that money is evil, that money is the root of all problems, that money and spirituality are not the same, you then are creating a block for yourself to not become at least a millionaire. And so we as a spiritual community must understand this and reshape, reform, and recreate our relationship with money, or we will never be powerful. We may be powerful in love, but not in the law. And when it comes to the root chakra, when it comes to this time and space, power is money. Now, in saying this, do we believe that all sentient beings should be millionaires and all that? No. Of course, there's many monks, there's many, Hindu gurus and all this that their spiritual lineage is to not be in materialism, and that's fine. We respect that. In fact, we need that because they are holding a certain consciousness for the planet. But if you're born in the United States, your soul wants you to have money. If you're born in the United States, you cannot be powerful without money. So understand your soul's intention. Understand your potential as a living expression of spirit. That if you are in this country or any of the similar economies in this world, you are here to have money. You are here to show and demonstrate the power of God and Goddess. And so this is why, as a spiritual community, we must heal this relationship. So that's just the introduction. What we're going to do for the remaining of this transmission, which will be no longer than 2 o'clock, if we don't get through all the material, then we will do this and we'll finish it up in the next transmission. We are going to take you through money in what I call the 7 dimensions of wellness. The Seven Dimensions of Wellness was my first book. I don't talk about it a lot, but just because I'm so in love with magic and money. But the Seven Dimensions is honestly the structure that I give my life. And the seven dimensions are spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, professional, financial, and relational. They do relate to the seven chakras. And to me, for me, and my spirit guides, to have balance between the seven dimensions is to actually live holistically. There's so much talk today about, oh, live holistically and all this and all that. And they think that living holistically is just, the food you take or your workouts and all this. To truly live holistically is to be in balance in all the seven dimensions. So we're going to teach money through these seven dimensions as well as through the chakras, because each of these seven dimensions represent a certain chakra, represent a certain energetic field. So we will begin. So first, of course, we start with the spiritual body, the spiritual aspect of money. And in truth, we've really already covered that. Okay. I had to listen there for a moment from my spirit guides. We've already covered in terms of, money and its spiritual lineage and all this. The last thing my spirit guides want to talk about is understanding that money is spiritual in the root chakra. It is because it is about creation. Spirituality, the definition of spirituality comes from the Kabbalah. And I often quote Dr. Joe Futterman when I talk about spirituality, because I love his quote where he said, and he's referencing the Kabbalah when he says this, he says that, spirituality is when you have insight and growth from that insight, in essence. Those are not exact words, but that's in essence what he says. So there's a spirituality in terms of really this connectedness, or what the ancient teachings would talk about, mouth to ear, meaning spirit's own communication to you. So being truly spiritual is being connected. But now what we're talking about, because we're talking about the law, spirituality, when it comes to the law, and again, the law meaning that you can create anything that you want, is where money is the vehicle of that in this time and space. And I emphasize time and space because if we fast forward 100 years from now, it's going to look different. If we go back 100 or 200 or 300 years from now, it's going to look different. So in this time and space, this current fiat currency and later the digital dollar, these things represent the power. And these things are vehicles of how we can create anything that we want. Can we create anything we want without money? Yes. But having money is an incredible power source for our creative abilities. Incredible, powerful source. And just to comment really quickly about the law, I've heard many people talk oftentimes like, I'm such a good person. Why don't I have any money? And, the people on Wall Street or the politicians or these, people that are unconscious, they have all the money, because the law doesn't care about your heart. The law only cares about the math, the formula that you plug into it. And if you plug into it correctly, it will give you what you want. It does not, The law does not give you things on brownie points. The law is not a Santa Claus in the sky saying, oh, you've been good. No, you've been naughty. If that was the case, we would have a completely different world right now. That's not the case. We are here to be spiritual, to reconnect with our divine source, and we are here to create. Those are the only two things. Keep it simple. In essence, those are the only two things. So if you want to live a spiritual life, work on your connection through being in nature, through maybe taking some plant medicine, through definitely meditation, and definitely prayer, and definitely doing breath work. Those are the tools to enhance your connection with your divine source, with your divine you, with your I am. But in terms of creation, this is about the law. You cannot create anything unless you are plugging in the right formula into the law. And so that's why my spirit guide stopped me to say that money is the tool for our power through the root chakra. And truly then to utilize the law and to know ourselves as creator, again, we must have a healthy relationship with money. And that's why we're going to take you through these 7 chakras or these 7 dimensions to recalibrate your relationship with money. On the mental, so we talked about the spiritual, we've covered the spiritual aspect, which is the crown chakra. The element of spirituality is fire. Next, we have the mental body. The mental body relates to air, and it is the 5th chakra. The mental body is about your viewpoint, your thoughts about money. And that's why we opened up with all of these words, is to start to reframe and restructure your mental approach, your thinking about money. Many people in our spiritual community, they perceive a lack of money because of their relationship with money. They may have an inherited belief that they got from their parents, from their culture, from their own experiences. Where money is scarce, where because they see everyone in their community or in their family struggle with money, they think that it will be their experience as well. Whatever the premise is, they struggle because of their mental viewpoint of money. And so first and foremost, understanding that money is just a tool, that it was given to us in our spiritual community by our spiritual ancestors. Our hope is that you start to restructure your belief, your limited thinking around money. Money is actually very, very abundant in our world, especially since 2008 when the US started printing money at record levels. And because it is a tool for us for creation, it is actually our birthright to have. And so understanding this framework and eliminating your limited thinking on money will help you to open up a relationship with money. Because money is also a deity. Money is actually is actually a living thing. It is not only a tool, but it actually has a consciousness. Anyone that works with magic, the GICK, understands that. And we as metaphysicians, to truly utilize our magic of the JIK form of magic, or even if you are someone that believes in the manifestation teachings, what you are truly doing is working with energy. And so therefore, everything is alive. And we talked about this when we talked about divine order, that everything in your home is alive. And for you to have proper relationship with your home, with your Beth, you must see everything as alive. And to have a proper relationship with money, you must also see it as a deity. You must also see it as a living consciousness that you have a relationship with. And so just like in any relationship that you want to improve, it's time for you to speak to money. It's time for you to go to maybe take out $100 bill from your bank if you can, and sit with it. Maybe go down to the beach or someplace in nature and speak to it. And speak to it with the relationship that you have had, and turn it into the relationship that you want. Something just happened. I don't know what to, that was weird. Okay. And speak to the money with the relationship that you want. Now, being someone that, where I got my master's degree in marriage and family therapy, I spent 10 years doing counseling with couples. And the thing that must occur for there to be healing is truth. Truth is a magical principle. Truth is when I say magical principle, truth is a creation principle. You cannot, even if you come from the manifestation teachings, you cannot manifest anything unless you're in truth. And that's something that I don't hear any manifestation teacher tell you. Maybe they are, but I haven't heard any say that. And again, that's why the people in manifestation teachings, good luck. You don't get 100% of what you want. In magic, JIK, we do. But anyway, truth clears all of the debris. Truth comes in like a hurricane and removes everything that is dead, everything that is not strong, everything that cannot carry on into the current existence of any relationship. When I don't do relationship counseling anymore, but because I don't have to. But when I did it for 10 years, we would start in truth, because we can't heal until we really speak truth to the other person. You can't heal your relationship with money until you speak to it, until you tell truth to it about what you thought before, but now the new relationship that you want with it. And so by doing this exercise, I guarantee you more money will come into your life, because now by doing this exercise, you are starting the healing process with money. You are starting to speak truth to money as well as truth to yourself, and you are making a new intention with money. by doing this exercise. And money as an entity, as a financial energy, will respond to this new relationship. It will respond as your birthright tool to now be accepted more into your bed, into your home, galvanizing your power. I'm feeling like before we move on, that is a great place to stop, because that in itself will be an incredible growth process. Because when we go into the emotional body, the third chakra, that has a lot there too. So better to stop early than late. So those of you that are following these transmissions, your growth work is to take out $100 bill if possible. If not, go for a 50 if possible, or at least a 20. Whatever you can do, and go into nature and speak your truth to money. And even before you do this, if you really want to clear out some old limited beliefs and thinking, do a free write on money. You can either do this verbally, but it's better to do it as a journal, and basically write out all of your thinking about money, and so that it's all on the paper, because then that acts as a mental purge. And then go back and then cross out the limited thinking that's no longer yours. Excuse me, do not cross it out, highlight it. Highlight the limited thinking that you want to work on. And then now take that work into your meditation, into your prayer work, and also into this discussion with money. And then when you feel like you've actually eliminated that thought in your mental space, then you go and you use a blackout pen, and then you cross that out. So this might be a living document for you for the next 6 months, maybe even a year. But as you look at all these limited beliefs, now look at how you can then work on eliminating these limited beliefs. Because again, I promise you, even just the mental state, we've covered the spiritual and the mental, even by releasing these limited thoughts, more and more money will come in. I've been working with money, with clients around money for almost 13 years. This stuff works. It has never, ever, ever failed. If you do this exercise, God work. If you work God. If you want more money in your life, do these exercises. If you have any questions, please feel free to email Linda. And then for those of you that are on YouTube, her email is publicist.drjoshua@gmail.com, and we will get back to you. But this is exciting, because this now starts your new relationship with money, and your ability as a spiritual being to truly have anything that you want by increasing your power in your house, in your bed, through financial energy. And so with that, I love you all. Thank you so much for attending both live as well as over YouTube. And our next transmission will be in 2 weeks, where we will continue this theme of money and take you through the rest of the chakras. Oh yeah, of course you can ask questions. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. So let's give you guys a couple minutes to, I'm gonna do Hape. Let's give you guys a couple minutes to put some things in the chat, and then I will answer. All right. How, ooh, okay, lots of questions. Great. Uh, how do you figure out your spiritual lineage? That really dates back to, our first transmission. It's it's an exploration, like I was born into mine, so I didn't really need to go on that journey. Uh, but in working, through in doing spiritual counseling for many people for the past 13 years, and helping them with their spiritual lineage, it really is an exploration. And just by declaring to the universe that you want to know your spiritual lineage, it will come when you're ready. But you'll know because it'll make your heart sing. It'll make you, really feel alive inside. You'll really connect. And that's why, you know, even though my spiritual lineage comes through the Sonic Kamaras, uh, and one of the Sonic Kamaras expertise is magic, MAJIK. We don't ever we love all spiritual lineages because as long as they're grounded in truth, they work. And you know, many people really, they feel their spiritual lineage is through Hinduism. Great. If Hinduism works, Buddhism, it works. Christianity, it works if you actually read the Bible. But statistically speaking, 80% of Christians don't actually read their own Bible. So all of these lineages really truly work, but it's not just the religion aspect. It's really going back and studying the depths of where these religions came from, and knowing uh the true lineage, and that's not something you're going to get from the church. That's something that either a mystery school will teach you, or you're going to have to go on your own to study. So yeah, but it'll come. It's just that desire alone, because in truth, from the I am, you can have anything that you want. If you want to know your spiritual lineage, it will reveal itself in time. Yeah, great question. Masons and Freemasons are the same, uh, with an asterisk. uh, the original Masonic lodges would only take in men. And there were many reasons for that, and all good in its origination. Uh, the reason why I left Masonry is because the lodges that I were in really were just boys' clubs. Uh, there was not, there was, dabble in the esoteric teachings, but the premise was really about, hey, let's get together, and get away from the wives for a while, and that didn't resonate with me after some time. But there are some lodges that really do some great work on the esoteric teachings, of what that mystery school uh, reveals, through their different degrees. The asterisk that I previously mentioned is that over the last few couple of decades, there have been Masonic lodges that have stepped away from the origination of the Masonic lodges, and have invited women to be a part of them. On an esoteric symbolism, women represent spirit, and man represents animal. So for me, this is a great evolution of Masonry. My mom was actually uh, a lodge leader, uh, at one point. So there are now lodges where women can now come in, and which again is another evolution of it. But yes, anytime you hear Masons or Freemasons, yeah, they're one and the same. How do you shift from mental body focus to emotional body? We'll get into that 2 weeks from now. Uh, for right now, we're just focusing on the mental aspect. Uh, so there'll be some exercises when we get, because the mental and emotional body, they feed each other. And so in order to have mental health, you must also have emotional health. In order to have emotional health, you must also have mental health. But we'll get into that in 2 weeks. When considering the root, body, temple, and spiritual, is there a correlation between power, money, and exercise, sweating? Well, like I talked about in the last transmission, exercise is a spiritual practice for me. The sweating is a clearing of energy. It Anything can be a cleansing as long as you put an intention into it. So if you were to say go for a hike or go for a run, and you make the intention from your I am place, and say this run is to energetically release and loosen all of my mental limited beliefs around money, that can happen. Remember, we live in the consciousness and in the knowing and in the truth that we are creators of our life. And even if you're someone that comes from the manifestation teachings, that is also, we share that belief with you, because the essence of the manifestation teachings is you can create anything in your life. So any you can use anything as a tool to help you cleanse and shift. Now, when you do sweat, you are definitely cleansing energy. But when you bring an intention into that action, it becomes much, much more powerful no matter what the intention is, because you're bringing in the I am consciousness into your action. And we're actually going to talk about that in further transmissions when we get into the other steps of ritual. So yeah, anything can be used. But also those of you that are from Mikael's class, my spirit guide, or one of my spirit guides, you also know that when we use our magic with any type of tool, we are in the GICK. And again, we love all forms of magic as long as it works. That's the bottom line. We don't take any judgment on anything, and as long as it works, as long as whatever you're doing is a tool to continuously expand your growth and your expansion and expression of who you are as a god and goddess. Awesome. We love you. If it doesn't, we invite you to look for something else. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your question. After doing the journey, we go back and do what? Okay, so let's review the journey. You're doing a free write on money so that you can observe and see your limited beliefs around money, your limited thinking around money. That acts as a purge. When we talk about purging, that is a ceremony term that we use when we are healing, because we are purging everything that no longer serves us out of us. And that can look in many, many different ways, because we are dealing with the mental body right now. With money, we give you a mental exercise, which is writing out all of your limited thinking around money. And then once you do that, then you take out, that $100 bill, you go into nature. And the reason why we stress nature is because nature, again, is our natural state. We want to be in a natural state when we make this declaration. Now, that nature could be your backyard. It could be a park. It could be anything, as long as you're just in nature. And because coming back to our natural state of being is, in essence, coming back to us being naked, us being rebirthed, us being in a true openness of starting over. We would also refer this to the tarot card of the Fool. And so nature will help this powerful energy, and it'll hold space for this powerful communication that you are to do with this $100 bill. After you have done that, then you go through the journal, which you purged out your limited thinking around money, and you begin to now work on those limited thinking. And you start with meditation, you start with prayer, you start with even creating your own mantra. What mantra means is a state of mind. You begin to start observing your thoughts. And this is why meditation is so crucial to this process. And denouncing the thoughts when they come. And because as they come, you no longer allow them. And this is great mental discipline. It's not going to happen necessarily overnight, but you begin to build a fortress around your Beth, around your home. And I'm talking about the home of your consciousness, the home of your body temple, the home of your mind. to where these limited thinking no longer are allowed to enter. And the way you do that is you combat them every single time you see them coming, and you say, no, this is not who we are. I am a living expression of God and Goddess. And therefore I can have everything that I want. I am not limited by what my parents taught me or my community taught me or what I've seen in my life. Because I am living, breathing here and now, I can create and I can have a different experience. And there's so many examples of this. You know, even just using, my own life story, I started working when I was in third grade. My mom worked 3 jobs. I never had any help, you know, um, and yeah, my uncle, my aunt would definitely, help me when I really needed it. But I started from zero, and now I'm a multimillionaire. And that was all done through magic. That was all done through knowing that I am an expression of God and Goddess and coming from the I am presence. So, and there are many, many, many other stories of this, not just around money, but just in life. Um, you know, other demonstrations of this, outside of money. So we know that no matter who we are today, that we can be different tomorrow. But it starts with this work. And it starts with knowing who you truly are, which is what we talked about, in the first transmission. The spiritual body is the crown chakra, because the crown chakra represents our direct openness, um, to the divine, to the oneness. And no, the root chakra is not. I mean, you can make an argument that everything is spiritual because obviously spirituality encompasses everything. But no, the root chakra represents your creation of of this material world. It is each chakra operates in a different vibrational frequency, and we want to honor those different vibrational frequencies so that we are empowering the 4 bodies of our body temple, that of the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical. And when we're talking about the physical body, which has its own truth, that is in relationship to the root chakra. That the root chakra is actually responds to the law, whereas the crown chakra responds to love. And so it's important to understand that and not get too blissed out. Let's play in the energies of which they were intended to be. And the root chakra has nothing. It's spirituality through matter. It's spirituality through creation. It's spirituality through making something or making nothing into something. It's spirituality in terms of your creation, which then relates to the law. In the original rota, the blind between swords and wands, could we look at it in the original way? Swords being fire, wands being air for the truce, and is that what we should be doing? There is no should, as long as you're dealing with truth. The way that tarot works is that as long as you're clear about what you want it to be, then it will work, because that's the tarot is another entity. And as long as you give it the structure of which you interpret its meanings, then the tarot will operate in the structure that you give it. Yes, it's true about the blind. I made the choice, I think, 8 or 10 years ago, to say that I was going to stick with the current teachings and not use the blind. Or excuse me, and for me to actually use the blind. So I do, when I work with tarot, both for myself as well as with other people, at times, I use wands as fire and I use swords as air. But it's true, in the original rota, swords is fire and wands is air. But when I made that decision, I sat with my tarot cards and I said, this is the structure that I'm going to be working with. But it all works as long as you, again, as long as your intention, as long as you state your intention with the relationship of the deity that you're working with. And tarot is another deity. So, but there's nothing that you should do as long as whatever you're doing is based in truth. But as me coming from the I am, I dictate the truth of my reality. So in me bringing in my beloved relationship with tarot, and me from the place of the I am saying that I'm going to stick with swords being air and wands being fire, the tarot then, in our beautiful relationship, adheres to that structure that I set forth. Yes, the Masons are a spiritual lineage. For the most part, there's some. You always want to go with the time-tested mystery schools, and the Masonic lodges have been around for hundreds of years, and they were even transformed, even in from their lineage comes from previous esoteric and mystery schools from even before the Masonic lodges were created. So their teachings, in essence, what they are about is building the body temple. They are all about becoming a master and becoming a master of your life. There are other mystery schools, though, that focus on other things. So the Masonic teachings are not the way; they are a way. They are a very important way. Their teachings, if someone were to really dive into them, will transform your life. I personally believe, psychologists today say that it's actually men that are actually in a crisis right now, because men are in a transition stage in terms of not really knowing what their identities are. And, I'm not going to go too much into that, but just basically, it used to be where men's roles were defined, women's roles were defined. Well, now that women can really do everything that men can do, now men are kind of like, well, what are we needed for? In essence. And I truly believe that the best practical way for men to find their power again, and I say again, the power before was actually in a machismo. So it really wasn't power. It was actually ego. So let me actually just say, for men to actually discover their power for the first time, in many, many, like thousands of years, Masonry would be the most practical way for that. the original, the lodges that only accept men, because in those lodges you will be taught how to be a man and how to be a um a, I don't, maybe not a spiritual man, because the emphasis isn't so much on connection with spirit, but becoming a master, and obviously if you're a master, then you graduate from being a boy to a man. There's a lot of boys in our country right now, even though they may be 30 or 40 or 50 or even 60 years old. And we need to go back to true power, and what will help men specifically discover their power and not go back into ego, with which we're still dealing with right now, with most of the men that are in power. But that'll be the healing, because ultimately what our human species is evolving to is to where we honor and respect and love the power that the goddess brings, as well as the power that the God brings through the man and through the woman, and knowing that we have the ability to be in our masculine and our feminine, both. Even psychology says that masculine and feminine has nothing to do with gender. So this will actually bring equilibrium to our human species, and we are evolving, towards that. But we cannot uplift women and also denounce men. Uh, we need to see from a spiritual perspective what both genders bring, and open the doors for both genders to freely explore their feminine and their masculine. And that's where, to quote Reverend Michael Beckwith, where he said many years ago that gay men are actually a gift to our and are a gift to men, because the gay man have given men the freedom to actually express and explore, our feminine, and that has been a tremendous gift to us. So, man, these questions, dude, I can go on and on because they lead to so many different things. Is meditation the best way to connect with spirit guides? Yes. It's not the only way, but it primes the pump, especially again when you come from the I am presence and you come from a place of intention, where in your morning meditation, you say, look, I'm sitting because I love you. I'm sitting because I want a greater connection with myself. And when I say myself, basically what I'm saying is with spirit, because we are spirit. Um, and when we make that declaration and then we meditate and we just focus on our breath and we just focus on being present, and then when the thoughts come in, we return back to our breath. That's the mental exercise. When we are in our breath and we are present, we are actually in meditation. When we are allowing thoughts to come in, then we are practicing meditation. So those are two different things. That's also what is taught by Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith. Another viewpoint, is from Joseph Campbell. He said that meditation is anything that we're focused on. And I believe that to be true as well. But and really, those two teachings from Reverend Michael and Joseph Campbell are really the same truth, because it is about the focus. When we are focused on, let's say, the stock market, we are in meditation in the stock market when nothing else enters our field of awareness, and the only thing that exists are those numbers, are those stocks, all these things. We are in true meditation with the stock market. Even when you're making love to someone, the teachings of the tantric practices are being fully present with your lover. And that's how you become a good lover, is being fully present. So everything is a meditation when we are fully present. But to be fully present with spirit is the meditation of how the Buddha taught, which is we are in a sitting position, not lying down. So many people in our spiritual community think that meditation can happen when you're lying down. Oh, God. Scientifically, that's proven to be untrue. I did my dissertation on meditation, read hundreds and hundreds of studies where they hooked up people's brain activity, and they studied the different forms of meditation: walking meditation, yoga, lying down meditation, sitting upright meditation, the Buddha way, back straight, chest back, head slightly elevated to open up the heart chakra. And the Buddha way, the Vipassana, demonstrated the highest level of brain activity and healing, and also destimulating the amygdala being what many spiritual teachers refer to as the reptilian brain, which is something that I can't stand. It's like, again, let's deal with truth. Don't call it something that it's not. In science, we do not call the amygdala the reptilian brain. We call it the amygdala. Let's educate our community. Let's not use these other terms that make you all look stupid from the scientific community. So anyway, so the right way to meditate when our intention is to be open and available to spirit, as well as heal our mind, heal our brain, is through the meditation form that the Buddha taught. There is nothing else. There have been, there's these blasphemous people that create these sounds and create these, guided meditations and all this type of stuff. Those things, I've read all the studies on those, on the scientific studies on those things. They have minimal effect compared to what the Buddha taught us. So don't allow or think that anyone can create or substitute true work, which is building your body temple, building the muscles in your back to be able to sustain and hold this position. I'm refraining from going off on these people right now. Yeah, again, truth is in time-tested practices. So let's stick with that. In numerology, going back to the first transmission, when looking at a person's entire name, first, middle, last, is this a different vibration than just the first name? And does it carry a more ancestral or generational vibration? Meaning, what's the difference using just the first name as opposed to the entire name. Yeah, you, Anna, yeah, you're totally correct. When you start, the reason why, we just use our first name is because that is the purest form in terms of your energetic vibration with your I am. When you start going into middle and last name, then you are now bringing in your ancestral lineage, and that's good to do that work. To know what the numerology is of your last name, to know what the numerology is of your middle name, that's great information, because that'll give you, clarity in terms of what your family's vibrational frequency is. But when we're focused on the I am, that gives that that is powerful enough to not be held back by any of the vibrational frequencies, of your family. And truly creating your life from the I am presence. We don't want any victimhood. We want to stay in our power. And when we start equating our family's lineage, then we are equating potentially some victimhood energies with the I am. And in truth, when we're working with the I am, you don't have a family. Your family is the oneness. And that is part of our spiritual evolution, is understanding that when you get that, if you choose, to go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole with sorry, a call came in and I lost my train of thought. Yeah, going down deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, with your spiritual path, then you will actually release your parents as your parents and actually see them only as the vehicle that brought you here. And you will truly know that spirit is your mother and father. And that then really is a powerful place to be, because you will then in that process happening, you will actually release attachment to humans. And as long as you're meditating, and as long as you're praying and doing your spiritual practice, it'll happen in a healthy way. But some people that go through this process, it can, detachment can become an unhealthy thing too. So there always has to be a continued grounding to reaffirm and re-choose why you're here. I speak these things from personal experience. And also other spiritual teachers have talked about this as well. That there is a point when you're detaching, when you're recognizing, when you're recognizing and experiencing truth and having the experiences of oneness many, many, many times, that it wasn't that long ago, a couple years ago, where I spent a lot of time in other dimensional fields. And I remember telling my spirit guides, like, fuck it, like, yeah, I'll be in this body, but I'm not going to be here. And they let me do that for like a month. And And then they called me back and they said, you know, drink. And those of you that know me or know what I'm referring to, know what I'm talking about. And so I drank, and that whole ceremony was them and me working with me to bring back my fire to actually be present in this body. So, and many other spiritual teachers have talked about this. You know, through my studies, I knew that this was going to be part of the process. But when you're in it, it's not until you in it that you actually experience it, that you actually understand what they were talking about. So there's just, part of the spiritual, path, that there'll come a point, if you choose to go down the rabbit hole far enough, that that you will release family attachment, and your family will be, the experience of your oneness. And that can happen in many different ways. But definitely releasing that attachment of the parents and of the family. Releasing doesn't mean not having gratitude. It just means seeing truth. It means, just seeing what's really true. So, yeah. All right, we went. I love the questions. As many of you know, one question can bring me into a world of tangents. But if you all feel complete, I think we'll close this now. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Love you all very much. And the whole point of all of this is again, no matter where you are in life right now, through the I am, through the power of the oneness, through the power of you as God and Goddess, that you can create any life that you want. And that is what's going to heal the world. All right. Much love, you all. Happy Sunday.